Today, on my little ongoing Friday morning coffee experiment program, I am so excited to have Olga join me. Olga, thank you. Welcome. Appreciate your being part of my experiment.
It's dreams come true to be your guinea pig, to be your subject, and to serve at your pleasure, Lucy.
I
Good
love
to
it.
be in your company.
I love it. I love it. Well, you and I have a lot in common. This isn't meant to be a very strict, organized conversation. As you know, I warn everybody. I'm like, there is no prep allowed. Not just not required. There's no prep allowed. So that anything's on the table, and obviously we'll get to the things that we live and breathe every day in a second. But you and have I have a lot of interesting backgrounds in common, and now we've intersected professionally. But your professional journey, I can't keep up with, and I'm very excited to just get a little quick update for those who are going, wait, where is she now? What's she doing now? Tell Connect the dots for us. In-house Stanford stuff, Parlay Pro, LexisNexis, and now TermScout. Give me a little walkthrough.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Sometimes I have to check in my LinkedIn to kind of situate myself where I am on the timeline. I really strongly believe that time and space converges, and I'm here to prove it. And I took some time off after selling Parley Pro to LexisNexis, and honestly, giving myself a gift of time has been incredible because it allowed me to reflect on where I've been, where the world is, where I would like to go, what I want to be known for, what kind of mark I want to live in the world. That led me to a lot of research in AI affiliated with Kodak, Stanford, um, collaboration between the engineering and law school. And as always, I don't do one thing or two, I do three or more. Multiples is kind of how I think.
Yeah.
So I decided to do a couple of experiments, and is and was incredible. I've learned a lot. I really do think that technology is not something that you enjoy theoretically or even talk about too much. You actually have to do it to learn to understand and spend time with it. It's actually not all that different from humans. You have to develop a relationship and a cadence with it to really get a feel for it. And then somewhere along the lines, I thought I would not join another company and work for others. But then this amazing opportunity came along. Otto, the founder of TermScout, approached me and asked me to join as CEO of TermScout. And I reflected where I am in life, and I thought it would be perfect. So today I'm also the CEO of TermScout. We certify contracts. We help sales, legal, and procurement teams to accelerate revenue
Mhm.
and have a seat at the table and focus on what matters.
Yeah. All right. Well, I love that. And I think the big lesson always for me is, you know what? There's no more linear path in careers. And it's taken me a couple of years, I think post COVID, to kind of realize it's a new world. And I think we probably were both brought up, just given our background, with a little bit of the, you work hard, you're grateful for the job. It's the work ethic. I would say I'm a boomer. I'm a boomer inside, stuck in a Gen X body, but very, very envious of the millennials. I'm like, wow, I can really learn a lot from them, but I've got the boomer mentality. And so right now, career paths just feel like the world's your oyster, and it's exciting to see people morph and do different things. You mentioned a couple of things that I'm going to just double click on and quickly. This concept of technology is not just something that's there; it's something you have to actually live and breathe in and use. And I'm a firm believer that people don't appreciate that. Regardless of what the tech is, if you're not in it enough, you just don't, you can't pick it up, and people get very frustrated and annoyed, like, well, what? But if I download, and I should use the app, and the app should be fine, and I'm sure once I have it, I'll figure it out. Legal tech's not like an Uber app, right? So tell me, where do you live and breathe technology today outside of your core job at TermScout? Tell me how else you are keeping keeping on top of tech.
Yeah, for me, it's building. It really is building. Um, at work, outside of work, I don't really draw boundaries. My life is very integrated. I don't do things I don't love. So work is love, love is work. It's all the same at this point. I've graduated from a part of life where I segregate those things and do things I enjoy and don't enjoy. I enjoy it all. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I don't do it. But yeah, a big chunk of it is my research projects are around doing different things and pushing capabilities of AI. I'm experimenting with drafting on the ESI part, and that has been amazing. I'm also building essentially what's known as two-way mediation conversation, and the bot allows takes two humans through de-escalation and education and getting to terms. And I'm really fascinated with legal education and how to leverage simulation for that purpose. Have built a few things. We'll be piloting them in Berkeley and UC Law this fall. So quite a few things. I think it's a very interesting tool. I like to experiment with applications that are sort of not immediately apparent. That is to say, when we look at our iPhone and we use it as a flashlight and say, what an amazing flashlight it is,
Okay.
which is how I think most people use AI today, you're
Yeah.
missing the point. There's a
Yeah.
whole world of use of your iPhone that is well beyond maybe email and flashlight, however amazing that experience is. And so I'm very interested to use AI for those additional things
Yeah.
beyond the flashlight and the email on, figuratively speaking, on your iPhone. So that's where I occupy a lot of space. That is, of course, influences my everything, really,
Yeah.
my life, my work at TermScout, my advisory work, all of it. It's a highly integrated life. But yes, I'm very interested to see what else we can do that is not obvious, that is not an amazing flashlight,
Yep. Yep.
that will improve the world, the way we law, the way we commerce, the way we show up in
Yeah.
our daily
Isn't
life.
it, isn't the, I mean, with technology, talk about the iPhone and the flashlight. I go back to even before that to like the VCR when we all knew how to like press play, rewind, and eject. Everybody knew how to do that really well back in the day. VCRs, VHS cassette tapes, for those of you kids who are tuning in this morning. But you know what else those VCRs could do is record into the future. And very few people knew how to do that. But then technology kind of leaped right over it. So thankfully, most of us didn't have to learn. But I don't think we optimize the tech we have anyway. No different than good old Microsoft Office. Come on, we use 10% of that feature and functionality. I think AI now, though, has certainly jumped into like, oh no, I'm here. I am here. I am everywhere, and you're almost naturally using it. I think faster and way more than maybe some other tech in the past. You also talk about integration, work-life integration, and I want to also click on that in a sec for a minute because we're going to talk about AI more in a minute. If you have to, you cannot have your morning coffee without talking, thinking, or reading about AI. But this whole concept of integration, you said, you graduated from when you used to, the part of your life where it was trying to segregate work and life. I say the same. I feel like there's no such thing as work-life balance for me. It's work-life integration. And yes, as long as it's fun and I enjoy it, I do it. And so right now I'm playing with AI all the time. And it's gotten to a point where even like, I'll be called for dinner. Somebody said, where are you? Your laptop? You're always working. Those comments are like, what do you mean? My AI buddy and I are up to shenanigans. I mean, I am testing and playing all the time. Where are you finding AI most impactful in your day-to-day job? Not what you're building in terms of the product, but like you actually, Olga, okay, I need to be more efficient. Where are you? What are you using every day?
Yeah, I've reduced my life to about 50 custom GPTs. It
Okay.
turns out, as complex as I thought I was, I'm actually pretty simple.
Aren't we all?
It only takes 50 custom GPTs to run it, more or less.
Okay.
Um,
Like travel, cooking, is that what I'm hearing? Like all your recipes, all your travel, kids' schedule. I mean, everything is
well,
done.
that's why I have a husband.
Right. Okay, that we're gonna have another whole session on that. Picking the right partner in life for sure helps the work life integration. Okay, well let's talk about AI for real now, for serious. We've got people who join or are going to listen to this that really are still looking for some basics because as many CLEs as they sign up for in webinars, they still walk away going, what? And I see it all the time. I'm trying to channel the in-house lawyer. That's my job, is to channel where they are in this continuum of tech in embracing tech. You already threw out GPT. We threw out, AI. I've heard LLM, generative AI, all these things. Start us from the beginning and just give us a 1-minute primer on how Olga perceives AI for the basics.
Honestly, I think I would start with custom GPTs.
Okay.
I would find a small problem that you routinely face or opportunity you routinely face, and find a way to do it bigger, faster, cheaper, sooner.
Yep. Okay.
And
Pause
that
there.
that could be your anywhere between the same email that you keep writing,
Right.
or
But let me
this.
step. Let me take you a step even before that. And this is what happens when we're in so deep in this space. You said GPT. Remind everybody, what is GPT? What is Chat GPT? What is what is generative AI? What's an LLM? I think people they're now hearing those words and they throw them out at cocktail party, but they don't quite still know how all those words work together. So
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I mean, the tutorial on that would probably take a lot longer than in a minute. But the short answer is OpenAI platform, I think, is a great place to start.
Okay.
If you are just, asking quick questions and find it useful or entertaining, you're probably scratching a surface. There's
Okay.
the whole world of custom GPTs that within about 10 minutes, you can learn to train narrow bots on doing narrow things. And if you're a tiny bit technologically savvy, you can use APIs to connect them to various apps, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
And just even with cutting and pasting, that will expedite your life. And so instead of me giving a tutorial, I would say get in and start swimming. My dad was a professional swimmer, and he was competing competitive swimmer, and he used to say there's a difference between those people who talk about swimming, and there are people who actually get in the water and do and create a splash.
Yeah.
And he was an eccentric man. He would get into a pool in red speedos, take a middle lane and do a butterfly, and the splashes will go all over. And he basically said, this is how you do it. You can't talk about swimming unless you're actually in the pool
Yeah.
and move water. So that's
Yeah.
going to be my answer about ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Be eccentric. Go in. Stop being a theoretical swimmer. Stop being a theoretical technologist. Get in. Have an initial chat. And then if you're lost, ask ChatGPT what else you can do to improve your life. Actually, it will guide you.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
will
No, I
ask you
think
a couple of questions. And then if you don't know what to do, ask it how. And if
yeah.
it's still not clear, you can actually say, give me a step-by-step guide of how to create a custom GPT and then how to connect it to my email or to Word or to Airtable or wherever you live. The beautiful thing about this tool, it is an amazing guide. And it actually doesn't hallucinate when you ask narrow questions about the past. It does pretty well.
Yeah. And that's the key. I mean, the narrow questions, that is the key. I think this the art of the possible, of that you can engage and continuously chat and refine. And the more detail you give, the better. I think blows people's mind. I'm speaking for myself, where I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I just did this. And I'm very proud of myself. And I run up and down the house and say, you guys aren't going to believe what it just did for me. So to me, it's it's a new world of working. A couple of real examples that I think people have to just embrace and accept. It's not cheating to use content that you created with the help of
Yeah,
ChatGPT.
I hear this cheating and people overly disclosing. I ask them whether they disclose that they use an iPhone
Yeah,
or Google.
yeah.
I think it's a point in time. It's just I think the tool is
It's a
new, so
reality. No, I think that's exactly right. This is DNA now. I mean, this is part of yes, you use a Microsoft Outlook to send communication, and you don't have to disclose that. I actually on that point, and then I promise you we're going to get to unCLMing in a second. But on that point, I can't help but ask your thoughts on this. I was at an event in a legal department that you would know, and shall remain nameless, but they were very specific on what they're doing with their law firm engagements and their outside counsel. And as we know, a billable hour and fixed pricing and alternative fees, that conversation, I'm done having it, not because anything's changed, but because I can't keep hearing the same cycle. But now we've added a new twist to the exact same conversation. I need all my law firms to tell me that they're using AI, and I want to know, because then on the bills, I want to see what I'm being charged for. I don't see how AI is any different than alternative service providers, and it's just the next. And to me, this is a spectrum of smart resourcing. You're going to use, junior associates. You're going to use first-year associates. You're going to use paralegals. Then you're going to use alternative service providers, LPOs, whatever you want to call them. And now you're going to be using AI. Why do in-house teams care? Why are you? I mean, I understand from a data protection perspective. Absolutely, put in all the words. You'll all feel better. Just like it took, 10 years for the ABA to allow email to not be a breach of confidentiality or privilege. Yes, fine. Like, go through all your protections, but why are in-house teams getting under the hood of their law firms? And which LLM do you use? Really? Is that going to make a difference? Don't they have an obligation to protect your information no matter what you're using under the hood? What are your thoughts on that relationship between in-house and law firm usage of AI?
Yeah, I feel like talking to lawyers about what they charge per minute per hour is like talking about, buying wine by the pound. It sort of objectifies the lawyer and the wine and misses the point that this is a relationship about value added. Um, so I'd like my conversation, to the extent I ever, hire another lawyer, is to talk about impact they
Yeah,
will have on my business
of
and the
course.
value of that. So as interesting as fascinating this conversation, what tool they're using, I don't care what my plumber is using. I really don't.
Agreed.
I don't. I
Thank
actually,
you.
I don't care what my lawyer is using. What I do care deeply and widely, how much impact on the revenue it will have,
Of
or
course.
trust with my customers,
Yeah.
or so those are the things that I like to zoom out of that and focus on things that matter and move a needle. And I really don't care what tools they use. I really hope they use good tools to get me to where I want to be sooner, cheaper, faster.
100%. As I said, I don't care. I want predictability in my pricing. I want amazing outputs and results, and protect my information. If you can tag those three, I don't know why I need to spend time asking. Asking what's the engine under your hood. As long as that car gets me where I need to go, so to speak. But we're here to talk about contracting technology and all the good things that are happening in today's world. So you and I have had this spicy conversation about, CLM, what's not CLM. There's all kinds of excitability, of course, right now on LinkedIn. CLM's dead, it's dying. There's a lot of good marketing happening around all of that. Again, I don't care what the words are. I know that the dream of end-to-end contract lifecycle management, fully automated, it's a bit of a dream. There are some very nuanced exceptions where it could work, but I have yet to see it really work very well, very broadly. But tell me what you're working on now at TermScout that actually ignores, disregards, or plays with CLM and really just doesn't really care what's going on in the CLM context.
With your permission, I actually would like to talk about something else. I
Do
want to
it.
talk. I want to talk about a book that, when I was running a CLM, changed my life. And
Ooh,
actually, there is a specific line that changed my life, and it took me a little time. As you
that's
may
big.
know,
That's big,
I'm
Olga. Changed my life. A book about CLM, or I mean, the change. I mean, that's a lot, but I can't wait.
Yes, yes. No, I thought it would be relevant to this. I collect books that about future of law, or really law, because I want to understand, where intellectual folks are. So this book by this amazing woman,
Oh, stop.
you
Okay,
may
okay.
you may have heard
Seriously.
of her. She wrote this CLM
Okay.
Simplified.
I
Her
did
name is
not hate
Lucy.
her.
She's quite amazing.
I
Um,
refuse, Olga, to spend any time on this. Yeah, I thought you were going to tell me some
no, but I
magic.
do want to read chapter 3, maybe 2 sentences,
No,
because
I will
that's for
allow it.
me. For me, that was life changing. The first sentence was life changing for me was, more often than not, law department lawyers find themselves in a reactive role when they review the contract sent to them by business. And then a few paragraphs down, it says, enough is enough. Reacting to every request for contracting help is not an effective strategy. In fact, it is not a strategy at all. And for me, I've read this as a CLM CEO, in this sort of heights of CLM wars, and I've experienced every part of it. And it got me paused because I thought it was actually really profound. We focus on this bigger, cheaper, faster, solving the problem. But the most important, and this is where I'm going to talk about life in general, the most things important in life is not how quickly you solve the problem or how well, but really what problems you focus on. and and the most, and I've heard you talk about it, and I think you those sentences capture the most decision you can ever make is not so much what you will do, but what you won't do.
Absolutely.
And to me, that was profound. I couldn't figure, I knew it was profound, it was impactful. I just couldn't figure out how to make it part of CLM. And that was actually one of the things I kept thinking about, which is why when Otta approached me, TermScout spoke to me, because that's exactly the question we help to answer. And as far as I know, we're the only ones who do that. We help sales accelerate revenue, and we help legal team to answer the questions, not how fast, bigger, cheaper, sooner they're going to solve something, but what are the 80% of stuff they won't be doing? And by virtue of that, taking that headspace and directing all that training, all that ninja stuff, all the ninja CLM tools on the 20% that will move the needle.
Yeah.
And we are in that space. So hopefully that answers your question about how we're different from CLM, and really what I think how legal teams can show up as better partners.
So what you're saying you can help do is let's hone in. It's almost so I tend to zoom out when it comes to contracting. I think you said the word zoom in, zoom out. I love it. Or click out, whatever we want to call it. I tend to zoom out and say, whoa, there's bigger stuff here. We're getting all caught up in the contract and the words when when you have absolutely no concept of what your risk tolerance is at the company. How in the world can you negotiate words when there's absolutely no understanding on what the company is actually comfortable with, so that each contract becomes its own little test of risk tolerance? What you're saying is that where I'm on one end of the spectrum, I've zoomed out, you're double clicked and zoomed all the way in to why even this contract? Why even these words? Is that a way to think about?
Yeah, I mean, I think once you make a policy about what's important to you and
Yeah.
on what terms,
Mm-hmm.
how much revenue and how quickly and how much risk, and you make those decisions, and then they backed up by logic, and you train folks in RevOps, deal desk,
Right.
whatever, to be
Mm-hmm.
the frontliners defending your positions, because you didn't take it as legal. You as a company, along with the CEO and executives and likely a board, made that decision. And that decision is not a flag that moves with the wind. That
That's right.
decision is a stake in the ground, and you are standing by it because that's a velocity and risk you chose for yourself. And you train your staff to execute on it every day.
Yeah.
And
No,
if you
love
have that policy and you have that training and you have the tools, then it's easy to say, we've taken this, we're not negotiating it. You can
yeah.
use all kinds of things. And then there's 20% of things that we will negotiate. And because they're exotic things, they're things we haven't seen, because there's something in the world, because we're developing whatever that may be, and you direct your full attentions on the 20% that actually matters,
Mm-hmm.
you will go much further in life generally, definitely as a company. And so we are helping legal teams to focus. Most importantly, we're helping sales team to make more money
Yeah.
by reducing that friction. And yes, sometimes you have to have friction. CLM can help you with that. They're amazing options. I will not endorse any one of them. I will just
Highly
say, if you're
smart.
the buyer, get aware.
Right. Absolutely. So a couple of things you said, let's bring it to like reality. And what does this mean for again, I'm channeling the in-house lawyer. It's just a tidal wave of contracts. We know, you've been in those shoes. I've been in those shoes. I think that's what makes some of us in the world unique, as you say about the swimmers. I'm not out there teaching how to swim. I almost drowned. And I now can say, here is how you swim, because I lived it and breathed it. The reality is they're overwhelmed, right? They're just overwhelmed. So even stopping to think about the things that you just described is hard. We're putting together actually a framework around that, because we realize that what sounds logical when we talk about it, they're like, yeah, but right now I got 30 deals on my desk. And those 30 are on all different spectrums of complexity and risk and what's it called too? The noise from the inside team. And every day is this balance. Every single minute is this balance of prioritization. I think what you're saying is you can avoid that, right? So you're looking from, why even get yourself in that situation if you know your tolerances, your risk tolerance. I mean, we see that as one of the core resolutions that that a legal team needs to come to with its C-suite, right, across the enterprise, and have that stake in the ground. Once you have that stake in the ground of your risk tolerances, I think what you're saying is there are tools like TermScout, and maybe it's one of the only ones right now that is telling you, okay, now dig in. Here's the data that can help you validate your risk tolerance. Is that a way to think about it?
That's exactly right. And more than that, you mentioned a couple of things, including kind of how the legal team could be more impactful. We're so trained in this risk conversation, but reality is, to have a seat at the table, you need to use juicier words. You need to understand concepts of revenue. And risk and revenue, they're not polar opposite. They're different sides of the same coin. And reframing it into the conversation that allows everyone on the team to participate,
Mm-hmm.
rallying around revenue,
Yeah.
using fewer words, because let's just face it, you as a lawyer may be a ninja in words,
No.
but the rest of business speaks actually different. They
Yep.
speak numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And so we help to bring the conversation and to have structured and streamlined conversations about risks and favorabilities and revenue. And the common language here is not legalese.
Yeah.
The common language in this is numbers: impact on risk, impact on revenue, impact on velocity, impact on friction, impact on throughput,
Yep.
on and on. And connecting that to your financials, which is ultimately the language of business, is how you go faster, do way more by doing way less,
Yeah.
and most importantly, which is like the recurring conversation for every in-house lawyer, how do they understand my value? How do they understand what I do? How do I have a seat at the table?
Right.
You do that by showing up as a team member at the table, have a conversation in a way that they can follow, understand, and influence. And
Yes.
that conversation is data driven. And
100%.
that's the problem I'm solving today. That's the only reason I decided to work for somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I absolutely love everything you're saying about, and I think lawyers, we talk a lot about it. We hear people talk about it, but day-to-day practice, I still see everybody over lawyering. They lawyer in-house for the sake of lawyering because the job is to lawyer as opposed to being that business advisor. And that's still a gap. And I see it all the time. Even some of the most innovative legal teams, when you talk to the lawyers, yeah, but I don't know, if I don't review that NDA, they might slip something in there. And if I hear that one more time from a super capable, intelligent in-house lawyer that understands actually the business purpose of the company they're part of, but they can't separate themselves from the lawyering day job. And that, I'm afraid we still have a pretty big gap to bridge there. But we're down to 1 minute. We also have some good questions about standardization of contract clauses, and I think that fits together. In order to standardize, data will definitely help. I still think any standardization effort, even using data, is going to have another long journey, because lawyers need to trust that source. Whatever that standard form is, they need to trust that it is exactly the same terms that they would like. They need to trust that there's the data that's informing that standardization. It's all goodness, right? We're all working towards the right path, but there's still an inherent gap, I think, in how in-house lawyers are perceiving themselves versus how the business perceives them. So Olga, you said it, and we can close on that note.
Yeah, no, I like people use they sometimes take what we do and kind of describe us as loosely standardization. I would not describe it as that at all.
Okay.
We can certify. None of our customers use standardized terms, as
Okay.
far as we know. They're
Yeah.
standard to them, maybe, but not.
Exactly.
That's not standard. That's just your favorite template, I think.
That's right.
That's what I would call it.
That's right.
But that is not to say that you cannot reduce the points, but like we take 800 points in your contract and reduce it to a structured data set, and we tell you how it compares to your peers. You decide what to do and what's standard
Perfect.
to you. So that's a little different. I do think that at some point it's helpful to compare apples to apples, and the way you do it is not by using legal prose. I know some of us think that we are legal poets when we write contracts,
Right.
but we're not
Right.
legal poets. We're actually much more precise than that. And I think numerically capturing it and then comparing it in a structured way is the way to do it. I'm supportive of standardization efforts in some industries. It has been highly effective. It has been effective in startups on the safe side. It has been effective in, for example, in advertisement industry, at least
Real
according to
estate.
some, when you buy things. But I don't have a point of view. We'll certify standard too. We'll tell you if it's balanced or if it has friction.
Yeah.
And even if you modify it, we'll tell you that. I think that it's less, I don't have a point of view on standardization. It helps in some cases, it doesn't in others. But more importantly, having an intentional way to make decisions about contracts and benchmarking them and comparing them to the world of contracts, to your industry, to companies of similar size, to what your customers expect, and bringing the business to have very intentional discussions that are structured and not, don't have feelings but have data,
Yeah.
will really get you to whatever results, whether it's risk or revenue, a whole lot sooner.
Okay. I love that. We're 2 minutes over. We need results. We need data. I love everything about it. We definitely need to have a second, a follow up to this conversation. So we'll be back, I'm sure, on another Friday with Olga. Thank you so much. And everybody, keep the comments going. And certainly, we're happy to continue to engage on LinkedIn. More to come. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend, Olga.
Thank you, Lucy. Thank you,
Bye,
everyone. Bye
everybody.
bye.
Bye.